Let's mark our anniversary with an adventure, I suggested to my hardworking husband. He deserved a break, and I was eager to indulge us both. For our first anniversary, I spared no expense, booking us a lavish room in a celebrity-frequented luxury hotel. It was a gesture aimed solely at bringing joy to my husband's heart, yet little did I know it would set the stage for everything that followed. Let's rewind a year back. At 28, I found myself married to Logan at 26 without the traditional dating preamble. Ours was what you might call a zero-day marriage. We crossed paths on a dating app, a decision I made impulsively one tipsy evening. Initially skeptical of the digital dating world, I found myself drawn in by its tales of the unknown, fueled by lingering drinks and curiosity. Amidst a sea of conversations that often fizzled out, Logan stood out. After a month of daily exchanges, we agreed to meet, and from the moment we did, it felt like reconnecting with an old friend. On our first meeting, Logan proposed the idea of dating with marriage in mind, and despite my reservations, I went along with it. It was swift, perhaps too swift, but there was an undeniable pull between us. Before long, we were arranging family meetings, caught up in the whirlwind of our budding relationship. Looking back, I see now the signs I missed, the subtle cues that hinted at what was to come. As we gathered for the family meeting at Logan's home, his excitement was palpable. "Mom, I've brought home my future wife," he announced proudly. Though I felt a twinge of self-consciousness, his mother Grace and sister Lily matched his enthusiasm, setting the stage for the next chapter of our story. As we exchanged pleasantries, Grace warmly greeted me, dispelling any formality. "Let's drop the formalities," she said with a smile. "We're becoming family after all." Her words filled me with warmth, reassured by the prospect of joining such a welcoming family. The tension dissolved instantly, replaced by a sense of familiarity that made it seem as though we'd known each other for years. Just as I was basking in the newfound ease, Lily posed an unexpected question. "So, how much do you make a year?" she inquired, her curiosity bordering on intrusive. Logan swiftly intervened, offering an explanation. "I've just started a new job, so it's entry level for me. Cho's been a nurse for 8 years, so she earns about twice as much," he explained, a hint of pride in his voice. Grace's response caught me off guard. "Wow, you're rich. What a fortunate marriage," she exclaimed, patting Logan's shoulder approvingly. Although his modesty belied the situation, I couldn't shake the unease that crept in. The absence of Logan's father for the past 5 years meant they relied on Lily's part-time cleaning job and Grace's pension. Logan contributed from his meager earnings, a fact that seemed to escape the conversation. Then came the question of our living arrangements. "Where will you live?" Grace inquired, her curiosity tinged with expectation. "We have a condo," I replied, admitting I'd bought it last year, never anticipating marriage. Lily's response veered towards surprise and a hint of envy. "You own a condo? Must be nice," she remarked, a subtle suggestion of newfound wealth. I hastened to clarify, emphasizing that I financed it myself and that the mortgage wasn't significantly different from renting. Grace's tone shifted, expressing reliance and a hint of expectation. "We'll be counting on you from now on," she stated, alluding to potential future assistance. The notion of sharing as a family left me unsettled, but I chose to defer the discomfort for another time. With gratitude and a promise to seek guidance, I excused myself, eager to leave the spotlight. Our aversion to being the center of attention led us to forego a grand wedding ceremony, opting instead for a simple paperwork filing, a decision influenced by my demanding job. I rarely wore rings, so opting for a modest one seemed sufficient. There was no grand proposal with an engagement ring, but I accepted that this was the reality of our situation. After tying the knot, we both remained diligent in our work. Taking charge of our finances, I started stashing away funds, gradually building a safety net for our future. However, after 6 months of marriage, I stumbled upon a concerning discovery. $2,000 had vanished from our account. The only plausible culprit was Logan. Confronting him that evening, I questioned the disappearance. "Did you know $2,000 was withdrawn from our bank account?" I demanded, urging him to contact the bank. Initially taken aback, Logan swiftly adopted a defensive stance, brushing off the issue as a mere loan to his mother. Infuriated by his nonchalant attitude, I pressed him further, emphasizing the importance of communication in financial matters. His dismissive response only fueled my frustration, with a sinking suspicion fueled by a previous encounter where his mother boasted of a casino win. I realized the money likely fueled her gambling habits. Up until then, our savings were pooled, but following this incident, I resolved to squirrel away extra funds separately. Despite this rift, I assumed Logan's demeanor would remain unchanged as long as family matters didn't surface. He was diligently employed, after all. However, our first wedding anniversary prompted a desire to deviate from our usual frugality and indulge in a bit of extravagance. Excitement bubbled within me as I arrived home, eager to unveil a surprise trip to Logan. However, my anticipation was dampened by the presence of Lily, who had been making frequent appearances lately, a routine that was starting to wear on me. Returning home after a taxing day of work to find her there was becoming a source of stress. In hindsight, the timing couldn't have been worse for sharing the news of our planned getaway. Yet I couldn't contain my enthusiasm about the luxury hotel reservation I had painstakingly secured. Logan's eyes sparkled with delight at the mention of the trip, but it was Lily who reacted most fervently. "Is it that hotel from the TV ads?" she exclaimed incredulously. Her tone carried a hint of envy, which I met with a confident explanation. "Since we've never taken a trip alone, we decided to indulge this time," I asserted, recounting the nerve-wracking experience of securing the booking on the day slots opened. Lily's response dripped with resentment. "How unfair of you," she retorted, her words tinged with bitterness. "Just because you're a nurse doesn't mean you should hog all the travel opportunities." She appealed to a sense of familial obligation, urging us to relinquish the trip in an act of filial piety. However, I couldn't overlook her penchant for travel despite her claims of financial strain, nor her propensity for fare evasion, a behavior she boasted about shamelessly. Her thinly veiled attempts at manipulation left me resolute in my decision. "Absolutely not," I declared firmly, determined to stand my ground. "We've been saving for this trip, and Logan works tirelessly. We deserve this splurge." Lily's displeasure morphed into a pointed remark directed at Logan, casting aspersions on my character and our marriage. Despite the discord, I remained steadfast in my resolve. There was no way I would forfeit our long-awaited trip to appease Lily's sense of entitlement. I felt a surge of anger as Logan remained silent, his gaze fixed downward. His inability to defend me only fueled my frustration. As Lily departed, her muttered remark casting me as the villain, Logan's puzzled expression mirrored my own disappointment. The excitement surrounding our trip dissipated, replaced by an uncomfortable tension that lingered as we retired for the night in an awkward silence. Normally, a good night's sleep would ease my troubles, but the following day brought an unexpected turn of events. Logan's words struck me like a blow when he suggested going on the trip with his mother and sister instead, excluding me entirely. I was taken aback, vehemently opposed to the idea. I couldn't shake the suspicion that his sudden change of heart stemmed from the late-night texts flooding his phone, likely filled with manipulative words from his family. His accusation of my heartlessness only deepened the divide between us. Marriage, he argued, was about uniting families, not individual desires. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling of being unfairly targeted. Despite our attempts to reason with each other, the conversation devolved into a stalemate, leaving us at an impasse. The disappointment was palpable as what was meant to be a joyous occasion now soared into a source of conflict. Returning home the next day to a tense atmosphere, I found my mother-in-law and sister-in-law waiting for me. With a smug expression, my mother-in-law declared, "Welcome back. We've resolved the trip matter. It's settled. The trip will be for me, my daughter, and my son." Shocked into silence, I turned to Logan for an explanation, though deep down, I doubted any justification could appease my frustration. Logan's response only fueled my disbelief. "It's as my mom said," he explained. "I shared our recent issues with her, and she proposed this solution. I'm going, you're staying. That's final." Outraged by the lack of consideration, I finally lost my temper, demanding an explanation for their irrational decision. But Logan's reply was laced with venomous words, his anger boiling over. He belittled my profession and reduced me to a mere source of income, revealing a side of him I had never seen before. His psychological abuse cut deep, leaving me feeling foolish for the efforts I had invested in our relationship thus far. Witnessing the altercation, my sister-in-law interjected, urging us to make amends and join them on the trip. But the thought of acquiescing to their unreasonable demands was too much to bear. I couldn't tolerate Logan's dependency on his mother and sister any longer. I've reached a point where I realize I don't need to hold on to affection for Logan or his family anymore. My once warm feelings have cooled to the point where it feels like I've been living in a dream. The idea of going on a trip with someone I've grown to dislike so intensely is unbearable. If his family holds such significance for him, then perhaps it's time to end our relationship. Let's proceed with the divorce, just as I suggested. It seems like the only logical solution to this impasse. Logan agrees, albeit with a hint of relief, suggesting we discuss it further after the trip. For now, he insists, the trip must take precedence. Feeling defeated, I reluctantly concede, allowing his family to have their way. When I inform Logan of my decision, he's quick to express his gratitude, assuring me he'll buy me a souvenir and even suggesting I might want some time alone to relax. His cheerful demeanor grates on me, but I've resolved to see this through. Taking matters into my own hands, I arranged for the hotel reservation to be changed to Logan's name and adjusted to accommodate a party of 3. On the day of their departure, I take the day off to see them off, observing their excitement with a mixture of resignation and amusement. Their overly packed suitcases for a one-night trip draw a chuckle from me as they set off. With them gone, I'm left with a newfound sense of purpose. Over the next 2 days, I embark on a life-changing task, relocating all of Logan's belongings to a rented storage unit. As a minimalist, I don't have much to pack up, but the process keeps me busy and focused on the fresh start that lies ahead. With the help of a friend from work, we swiftly complete the task in less than 2 hours. Now, there's no reason for Logan to return. This condo, purchased in my name when I was single, will remain a sanctuary from him. The locksmith I've arranged arrives promptly, ensuring that Logan is permanently barred from entering the premises. Additionally, I've sought legal advice from a lawyer named Mason regarding the divorce proceedings. Armed with audio evidence of the psychological abuse I endured, Mason assures me of a guaranteed victory and offers to represent me. Relieved to have someone else handle the divorce talks, I focus on tying up loose ends. Meanwhile, Logan and his family are under the mistaken impression that the hotel stay is prepaid, unaware that I had only made reservations. As a gesture for our anniversary, I had even arranged for a fancy cake and champagne, intending to surprise him. However, all expenses were to be settled at checkout. As anticipated, my phone buzzes incessantly around checkout time, but I ignore the calls with a sense of satisfaction. I can only imagine their shock when confronted with the hefty bill at the hotel. True to my expectations, I end up in police custody, unable to pay. Washing my hands of the situation, I send the divorce papers and the key to the storage unit containing Logan's belongings to his family home. With Logan and his family out of the picture, my condo returns to its peaceful state. I had prepared for the inevitable contestation of the divorce, with Mason handling everything on my behalf. Despite their financial struggles, Logan's family manages to scrape together enough money to secure their release. However, upon their return, their aggression leads to police intervention. Given the ongoing divorce mediation due to Logan's psychological abuse, he is slapped with a restraining order. Unable to afford a legal battle, his family quickly agrees to the divorce, bringing closure to the tumultuous chapter of my life. In the divorce proceedings, I assert my right to compensation for the psychological abuse endured during our marriage. Surprisingly, becoming single again proves to be less daunting than anticipated. Meanwhile, it appears that Logan's family continues to rely on his income, likely exacerbated by his gambling habits that he couldn't seem to shake. Logan's own employment instability becomes evident as he struggles to hold down a job, often calling in sick or even quitting impulsively. Despite my concerns about his behavior, he dismisses them, citing mental health issues. However, his inability to maintain steady employment leads to financial strain for his family. His sister's unemployment adds to their financial woes, and their refusal of welfare assistance only compounds their debt. To make matters worse, I've noticed suspicious characters lurking around their home, adding a sense of unease to their already turbulent situation. In contrast, my life post-divorce is remarkably stress-free. Flourishing in my career, I've even been promoted to supervisor, a role that I relish despite its challenges. With only myself to care for, I find I can cut corners on household chores, allowing me more time to focus on my own well-being. Though I hadn't planned on dating for a while, I found companionship with Caleb, a doctor who had been a supportive confidant before my marriage. Unlike my ex-husband, Caleb is both financially and emotionally stable. Still, I approach the idea of marriage cautiously now, mindful of the lessons learned from my past. Reflecting on my journey, I can't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the unexpected turn of events. In hindsight, I'm thankful that they took that ill-fated trip, unwittingly freeing me from a toxic situation.